For so many of us, the dream of owning a home feels like it's just slipping further and further away. Prices keep climbing, and it can feel totally impossible to keep up. But what if there was a different way to build? A better way? Today, we're going to dig into a potential solution that could make home ownership a reality for a lot more people. We're talking about the idea of an affordable, high-quality, factory-built house. So, let's dive right in.
Okay, take a look at this number, $365,900. So, according to the Census Bureau, that was the average sales price of a new, traditionally built home back in 2021. And here's the crazy part. That doesn't even include the cost of the land it's sitting on, just the house itself.
Now keep that first number in your head and look at this one, $108,100. In the very same year, this was the average price of a new manufactured home. That is a massive difference. We're talking about more than $250,000. So what on earth is going on here?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? How is that even possible? Where does that $250,000 gap come from? Well, to answer that, we need to look at what's really putting the squeeze on home ownership, and how building a house in a factory, instead of out on some muddy construction site, could be the key to everything.
The tough reality is, the cost of housing has just shot up way faster than most of our paychecks. A 2022 Harvard study actually looked at this, and they found that the ratio of the median home price to median income hit a record 5.3 in 2021. To put that in perspective, back in the 90s, that number was just 3.1. That growing gap makes it incredibly difficult for people, especially first-time buyers, to even get a foot in the door.
So, with traditional home building becoming so expensive, it makes sense that people are looking for other options. And while there are a lot of cool ideas out there, from tiny homes to co-living spaces, one of the most promising and frankly scalable solutions is manufactured housing. It's not a new idea by any means, but it is getting a serious second look as a powerful answer to this affordability crisis.
First off, let's be super clear on what we're talking about here. The official term is manufactured housing. These are homes built entirely in a controlled factory environment, and they have to follow a really strict federal building code set by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. Now, this is a huge deal because it separates them from the old, unregulated mobile homes of the past. Today's manufactured homes are built to a super high standard of quality and safety, just like a home built on-site.
And this slide? Well, it really paints the picture, doesn't it? On the left, you see the factory reality. It's precise, it's efficient, and it's completely protected from things like rain delays. This assembly line process creates huge savings through something called economies of scale and using labor more efficiently. And on the right, that's the end result. A beautiful, high-quality home installed on a permanent foundation that honestly looks right at home in any neighborhood.
The whole journey is actually pretty straightforward. It boils down to 4 key steps. First, the home gets built inside the factory. At the exact same time, the foundation and utilities are being prepared on the actual lot. Then, the finished sections are transported to the location, and finally, they're all put together on the foundation, a process that is remarkably fast. Seriously, we're talking days or weeks, not the months and months it takes for traditional construction.
So, what are the big advantages of building this way? What are the big wins here? Well, it really comes down to 3 things: speed, cost, and more sustainability. Let's really look at the numbers.
And wow, this chart really just spells it out. That same Harvard study crunched the numbers on a per square foot basis. A traditional site-built home averages about $144 per square foot. A manufactured home, just $72. That is a staggering 50% reduction in construction costs. It's half the price. And it's one of the main reasons this is getting so much attention right now.
But the benefits, they don't just stop at your wallet. There's a growing body of research, like this study from 2023, showing that the factory-built process can also be way better for the environment. And it makes sense, right? Because the homes are built in a controlled setting, there's far less waste, materials can be measured and cut with digital precision, and any leftovers can be easily sorted and recycled. All of that lowers the overall carbon footprint.
This chart from that study is pretty fascinating. In their experimental model, a massive 94% of the total carbon emissions came from the materials used, the concrete, the steel, the insulation. Only a tiny fraction came from transport and factory energy. So here's the big takeaway. The single most important way to make these homes even greener is by choosing sustainable, low-carbon building materials from the very beginning.
Okay, so cheaper, faster to build, and potentially more sustainable, you're probably thinking to yourself,
why aren't they absolutely everywhere? It's the obvious question, right? And the answer, well, it tells us a lot about some of the biggest challenges facing the housing industry today, and they have nothing to do with technology.
It really boils down to three major hurdles. First, there's this persistent public stigma, that whole not in my backyard thing. A lot of it is driven by really outdated stereotypes about manufactured homes, and it can be a huge barrier. Second, getting a mortgage can be tricky sometimes. And third, a lot of communities have restrictive zoning laws that either limit where these homes can go or just ban them outright.
But the industry is not just taking this lying down. A whole new wave of innovation is tackling these hurdles head-on, and the goal is to change perceptions by completely changing the product itself.
So let's take a look at the CrossMod. This is a new class of manufactured home specifically designed to be, well, indistinguishable from a site-built house. These homes are designed with features you'd expect to see on a traditional house, like a permanent foundation, a steeper roof, and a front porch. This helps them blend right into existing neighborhoods, and this is crucial, and helps them appraise like a traditional home, which makes them way easier to finance.
And this is where things get really exciting for me. Factory built no longer means cookie cutter. The image on the left shows custom molds being prepared, which allows for all kinds of architectural creativity. Then on the right, you see these unique panels being assembled on site. This flexibility proves that prefabrication can deliver stunning, custom, architect-designed homes. It completely shatters that old myth of the one-size-fits-all manufactured house.
And this is where it's all heading. The future isn't just about being affordable, it's about total performance. This model shows a home designed for sustainability right from the start, complete with integrated solar panels. In the future, we could see entire communities of these homes that are not just affordable, but maybe even net positive, meaning they actually produce more energy than they consume. How cool is that?
So while hurdles like zoning and stigma are still very real, the technology and the design are evolving at a breakneck pace. The cost advantages are just undeniable, and the potential for high-quality, sustainable, and beautifully designed homes is there. It really leaves us with a compelling final thought. Could the key to the dream of homeownership for millions of people actually be found not on a construction site, but on a factory assembly line?